Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointing Not Sharp. Today I thought I would re-examine the Swiss Model 1957 bayonet. Now these bayonets are made for the STGW or Sturmgewehr 57 rifle, which is a Swiss service rifle, initially made in a proprietary Swiss cartridge. I think it was like 6.5 millimeter, 7.5 millimeter, and then later they also made it in 7.62 NATO, and that was the export version called the SIG 510. Now, 740,000 of the rifles and bayonets were made, and the bayonets were made by Waffen Fabrics in Bern between 1957 to 1958. You will hear that they were made by Victorinox and Wenger, but that's incorrect. Only the metallic components of the bayonet were manufactured in those places. The rest were made in other factories and was all assembled at Waffen Fabric. So the STGW 57 entered service in the late 1950s to replace the existing K31s and Suomi SMGs. And prior to that, they were using the Model 1918 and Model 1914 bayonets. So this is the Model 1918. I've done a previous video on this one before. And the 1918 is just, I've got one as well, not with me, but it's much longer. It has a saw back, and that was like for pioneers and engineers and things like that. And as you see, what we have here with the Model 1957 is very similar to the Model 1918. They're both double-bladed dagger-style bayonets. Now, I said before that they were assembled at Waffen Fabric Bern. There were 4 feeder factories that manufactured the various components of the bayonet and scabbard, not including the frogs. So the blades, crossguards and pommels were manufactured by Victorinox and Wenger, and it was split between the two to prevent competition or to encourage competition for some reason. I can't really remember exactly what it was. Then the scabbards and the handles, or pretty much all of the plastic components, including this piece just here, were made by UTZ or Bauer Azul. My Swiss is terrible. Please critique me. And then the only other component that was made in another feeder factory was the mouth of the scabbard. And that was actually made by a company called Piard. I think they're a French company. I'm not entirely sure. They might be Swiss as well. But they've been around forever and they make all kinds of things. Now, these bayonets and rifles were in service for many, many years, and they were in service until they were eventually replaced by the Model 1990 bayonet, which I've got here. This is where they're really strayed away and gone to like a more a Bowie clip-pointed type of knife, single-edged. And you'll notice I have a couple of different frogs here. I've got a third one as well. So there were many different kinds. But I'll get into that shortly when I get into construction. Now, there was an export version of this bayonet as well for Chile, and they were slightly different. If I ever get my hands on one of those, I'll do a video on those because they're a different topic. But I'll jump into the construction now. So the blade itself, I'm pretty sure is made of a stainless steel, and it's got quite a thick spine to it, as you can see. It's very, very durable. It doesn't feel too malleable. Like, I feel like it'd be brittle, it would snap rather than bend. It does not hold an edge. If you sharpen this, it will not hold the edge. So it's made pure and simply for thrusting, not cutting. There is no blade either side. Then moving down, we've got a crossguard made of the same material with a 22mm Stanag muzzle ring. And then we've got our ribbed plastic grips, which are surprisingly comfortable. This was actually the first bayonet I ever bought, actually. I spent $50 on this back in like 2009 or something like that, ages ago. And moving down to the pommel, it's got a really unique device for attaching to the pommel. So As you can see here, we have a hole and we have these two circular devices on either side. what you do is you grab these and you pull them down, and there is a lug in the middle, or a bar. And when you pull these down, it drops the bar and snaps onto the rifle. Pretty simple. And taking a look at the scabbard, it's just a piece of plastic. There's nothing too exciting about it. But I'll jump into the frogs very, very quickly. So the first version is what we have here. And I'll take the frog off so you can actually see what's going on. Come on. If I can get it off, I don't want to break anything because it's very, very old leather. There we go. So the very first ones had these leather tabs, and that's the same as what we had on the old Model 1918s. And these are designed to fit into one of the old style of frogs through a buckle. And these frogs were made by many, many different manufacturers, by the way. So there's a fellow on Facebook, he's not around anymore, but a couple of his posts still are. He used to catalogue all the different manufacturers of Swiss leather frogs, and there were hundreds. There were so many, but we won't worry about that just yet. So that's the first kind. The second kind is what we have here. And when I've posted this one online, I've been told by a number of people that it's a reproduction. But I've shown the markings to that expert I was just talking about, and he said that this is absolutely authentic, and it's not unheard of to find them in this condition because they were just packed away and stored very, very well. I got this one for an absolute steal, so I was very, very happy. And the third kind of frog is the vinyl kind that we have here with the aluminium rivets. Got a little belt loop up the top. These weren't specifically designed for the STG57 or the Model 1957 bayonet. They were designed for this bayonet. However, it's not incorrect to see them with these because they were also issued, because there was a bit of overlap there. Now, finally, I'll jump into the markings, and I really enjoy the markings on these. Actually, they're quite nice. So first off, on the right ricasso, we have our Waffen Fabric Burn logo, which is the WF inside a circle with a 4. And that's the manufacturer's mark. Then on the reverse of the blade, on this one here, we have a V. So that's where you find the mark that denotes the manufacturer of the metallic components like the blade, crossguard, and pommel. And remember, it could be either Victorinox or Wenger. Now, initially, the first batch of these that were made had the full name of the manufacturer written out, like Wenger or Victorinox, Victoria Schweiss. But then, as production went, it was only the first couple that had these markings. They moved to just a capital V or a capital W. And then later on in production, they moved again down to a lowercase v or a lowercase w. So those are the markings you'll find for Victorinox or Wenger on the blades. And you probably saw underneath that we have our serial number. So on this one here, quite a high serial number, 291564. And this one here, which is one of the earlier issued ones, is 14009, so 14,000. Very low in production. Then we also have a inspection mark just here on the crossguard. So here it's KV146 with a Swiss cross. And is this the same? No, I think this one was underneath. Okay, so the earlier one doesn't have an inspection mark at all. There you go. And then moving down to the scabbard, we have like a mold mark in the back here, which is a APN. I believe that's for the manufacturer. And then we should also have, it's impossible to get these things on off quickly. Yeah, so this one's just got a bunch more markings under there. I'm not sure if they're mold numbers, the type of plastic, date of manufacture, or the manufacturer, but there's a bunch there. And I believe that's really it for markings. There's not a terrible lot on them. However, as I previously stated, there's a lot of markings on the frogs. So this one here, we have, just on the base, it says Failer 5034 Saw, or Saw. I assume that's the place of manufacture. And the leather frogs, I'll use this other one actually, better example. So your manufacturer, you'll usually have like a oval with the manufacturer at the top, the place at the bottom, and the date in the middle. And then you'll also have an inspection mark up here with a cross in it, and the inspector being, in this case, J. But as I said earlier, there were hundreds of different manufacturers of the frogs. In Switzerland, they went to every leather worker or saddler or company that were capable of making these and had them make them, and they were made absolutely everywhere. Like this one here, I've got J. Peters 1981 in Chur, which I assume is the place. So yeah, that's all there really is to say about these. They're really cool bayonets. They used to be super cheap. They're creeping up in price now. I used to recommend them as like a great starting piece because they're absolutely gorgeous, very, very common, and reasonably inexpensive compared to some, but they're, as I said, creeping up in price quite a bit at the moment. But that's all I really have to say about them. I assume, like other Swiss bayonets, there's probably a register somewhere online where you can cross-reference a serial number to figure out the date of manufacture, but I haven't looked into that at this stage. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say, and thanks for watching.